Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. Today we're going to have a lot of fun. I can feel it already. Dana and I have been laughing and having a great time. And I'm really excited about this topic because we're going to talk about why action is not what builds your business or your movement. And we just finished a series on how to start a movement. And so this is going to be perfect timing for that. It's also going to be perfect timing for those of you that are entrepreneurs and you're trying to build your business. You're like, what do I need to do more of? I mean, you ever said that or heard somebody say that? Well, Dana Wilde is going to enlighten us on why that's not the best strategy. She is an expert in how to intentionally and systematically change your mindset so you get better outcomes. After growing her own business from $0 to $1 million in under 19 months, she will show you how to make money by being happy and get paid for being you. So Dana, welcome to Leaders of Transformation. We're excited that you're here.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Nicole. I can't wait to just jump in. We're going to have fun.
I believe that. Now, okay, so 19 months, built a business that did over $1 million a year.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people out there right now that are, that's what they're gunning for. They're like, I want to build $1 million, 6 to 7 to 8 figure business, you know? And so why is action not the way to do it?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because the thing that most people think is that it's the actions you take, or it's working more, it's working harder. We have all these messages in the culture today, grit, nose to the grindstone. Oh my gosh, hustle. I mean, I could just go on and on about it, but let's just think about this logically. If you line up 100 entrepreneurs who are all at the top of their game and the top of their niches, and you ask them, what did you do to get there? They're going to give you 100 different answers. Some people are going to say, oh, LinkedIn, live streaming, go to networking meetings, speak from the stage. I mean, they're going to have a million different ways that they did it. But the one thing that those 100 people at the top of their game will have in common is the way they think. And so if you're going to grow your business slowly, you can do that by plodding away and trudging and working hard and doing all those things. But if you want to grow quickly, like 0 to $1 million in 19 months, and that was the first business. We did it again with the Mind Aware. We went from 0 to $1 million in under 2 years with 60,000 followers within the first 2 years that we started. You don't do that with action. There's only one way to do that, and that's mindset. You have to think differently. You have to think like those people who are at the top of their game. And the thing we've learned with Train Your Brain is that you can learn how to think like that, no matter what your background, no matter what your background, you can learn how to think like that.
So we've got to dispel that myth of some people think like they watched The Secret when it came out a few years ago, and they're just going to like lay on their couch and they're going to imagine and they're going to think happy thoughts and it's all just going to come. So dispel that myth, because that's not what you're talking about here, obviously.
No, that's not what I'm talking about, although that could happen. So I'm not denying that likely it is. The thing that happens to us is we are raised in cultures where we feel like we have to do something for the money. And so we like to call it, in The Secret, I think they called it inspired action. Like you get a hit to like, oh, I should do this, and then you take an action. And for the Train Your Brain, I love the idea of inspired action, but I had sometimes a challenge thinking like, am I inspired right now? Like, is this inspired? Like, I couldn't tell if what I wanted to do was inspired or not. So I call it intentional action. And what I mean is when you feel good first, then take action. That's intentional action. Mindset matters most. Focus on feeling good, focus on telling good stories, focus on the positive, focus on thinking differently, focus on getting happy, because when you get happy, then try to hold yourself back from action. When you're happy, you open up the creative pathways in your brain. When you're thinking frustrated, you close those down. You can't even access good ideas. When you're happy, you open them up. When you're happy, you feel like engaging. When you're happy, you make better decisions. When you're happy, the action you take, it goes really quick. You get better results. You like people better. They like you better. I mean, intentional action is what works to build your business quickly. Can you sit in a room and meditate and think happy thoughts and money fall into your lap? Sure, probably. But most of us, we wouldn't do that. We'd start thinking happy thoughts and we'd want to get into the world and engage and do stuff. But you're going to meet with more success that way. Does that make sense, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said there about that intentional action is that, yeah, you may be on the couch and you're envisioning and you're getting very zen, if you will, and just and clearing your mind. But then for me, yeah, that's why in the shower or when I'm in nature walking along the beach, I'll get these amazing, brilliant ideas and then I action upon those. But if we're too busy and we're working, doing, then we don't have that space for those ideas to even reach us.
Exactly right. And I'll tell you something else too, since you brought up The Secret, and I thought it was a great movie, and I'm spiritual and spiritually connected, and I gain a lot of strength from, my spirit and spiritual practices, but train your brain is not bent that way. We don't talk about the universe. We don't talk about things bringing you. It's strictly about the brain and brain science and how we're designed to be successful and how your brain is your best friend. Most of us are scared of our brains. We hear all this stuff out there about, oh, your brain's sabotaging you and all this stuff. It's like brain as mugger, like waiting to jump from behind a tree, right? And I'm here to say your brain is your best friend. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. You can call it the RAS or the, RAS, whatever's comfortable. And I'm sure you've heard about it, Nicole. And I like to tell people to think about it like a little matchmaker that lives in your head. It stands at attention all day, every day, listening. What are you thinking about? And what are you talking about? And then it sifts through the mucky muck. Like look at the room you're in now or the car you're in now as you're listening to this, and look at the tons of stimuli we've got. Sounds and sights and colors and information and sensations and smells and all this stuff. We'd go crazy if we had to process that. So your little RAS, your little matchmaker does it, and it looks for whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're talking about. That's why if you ever go out to buy a new car, you see that car everywhere. You start to, because your brain goes, oh, this must be important to you. You're sure thinking about this a lot. That's also why if you're thinking things like, it's hard to build a business, or I can't make money, or I'm not confident enough to do this or do that, your brain says, got it. I'm your matchmaker. I'm going to help you out with that. Let's keep that going. See what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the manifesting, this concept of manifesting has come up recently a lot. And, people are like, I need to learn how to manifest. And I think, you know what? You manifest perfectly. All the time. We all do.
Yes.
We just may not be manifesting the things that we want. So when you're talking about building a business, over $1 million business in less than 2 years, and the way they think differently, and then they create that, they had that vision. So talk about when you say they all think the same way, and of course you were one of them, they all think the same way. What are the things that they think?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I've been deciphering this and really trying to just watch my own thought process and the changes that happen as I attain, each level. Like, what are some of the things I think? And I think I can put it into 2 words. And the 2 words are, I think the difference between the people who end up at the upper echelons and those that aren't there yet is positive expectation. They have a certain level of expectation for success. And so which words can you say to help you get there? And the answer is any words that make you feel good. The words I was saying when I was doing it were words like, well, I'll figure this out. I will figure this out. I didn't have any really, in the first business, I didn't really have any doubt about my possibility for success. I was really in what we like to call, when we talk about emotions, the knowing. Like, I knew it. I knew I was going to be able to figure it out. I knew I was going to be able to do it. I knew I was going to be successful. The second business, surprisingly enough, I didn't have as much knowing about, because it was on the internet. I'd never done anything like that before. I was like, I don't know if I can, I was saying I'll figure it out, but there was part of me that was like, I'm not feeling so positive about it, but I was very hopeful. And so what I like to tell people is that It's nice if we can talk perfectly to ourselves and say things like money is flowing to me in great quantities on a daily basis, or I am abundant, or I am all these things. And it's nice if we can be in knowing. Of course, those are great, but most of us were not there. So if you can instead think of it as just staying consistently more hopeful on a day-to-day basis. If you're in frustration, you're not gaining any traction towards your goals or your business or anything you want to do, building your movement, building your following. You're working against yourself. But if you can stay more hopeful, if you can say those soothing words that help you to feel better, there's really only 4 steps to the whole train your brain process, and I'd be happy to share them with you. But really, that's it. That's it. When you feel good, you get better results.
So train your brain. So you've been featured in different documentaries and movies and so forth. So yes, I'd love for you to share the 4 steps.
Yes, the whole 4 steps. This is the whole program, everything inside and out. So you're here and you can implement this immediately right now. Step 1, I call it the wake up step. What it means is be aware. If you have a little matchmaker that lives in your head and you are saying things to yourself, like, what would be, like, give me an example, Nicole, maybe the most common problem or 2 that you think your people, your listeners are having?
Well, I think there's doubt. There's that doubt of, can they do it?
Yeah. Confidence.
Yeah.
Doubt. Yeah. Okay. So when you hear your brain and you have that feeling in your body of like, yuck, and then you have that thought that you hear that goes like, ooh, maybe this is a pipe dream. Maybe I bit off more than I can chew. Maybe I can't do this. You start to get those thoughts. We like to call it busting yourself. That's the time to bust yourself and wake up and be aware. And when you do that, a lot of times people have this idea of like, oh, cancel, pop, or bad me, or why do I always think negative, right? Then they want to use the negative thinking to beat themselves up. And I like to tell people, when you catch yourself, you celebrate and you do a happy dance because you just woke up. You're not walking around on automatic pilot anymore. You are now aware and in the moment. So get happy right now and be like, oh my God, there it is. There's that belief. I see it. Step 2, decide. Do you want your reticular activating system to match it up or not? Because if you do, don't do anything. I used to say for years, I'm not a morning person, and I didn't care. I don't care if I'm a morning person. So if you say, no, I don't want this to match up, I want to feel differently, I want different results, then step 3 is you must find a way to talk about the current situation in a way that feels good. So you must find a way to talk about the current situation in a way that feels better even. And then step 4 is to feel that positive emotion that you generate from it. So all of the quote unquote works in step 3. And really, if you think about it, if your friend came up to you and said, I don't know if I'm going to make it, I don't know if I'm going to do this, you wouldn't go, yeah, you probably should give it up. You'd never do that. So why don't we start talking to ourselves like than we would, be nice to ourselves, right?
That's true. Actually, we are way more comfortable encouraging another person and saying, oh, no, it'll be okay. Everything's going to work out okay. And then when it comes to ourselves, we're like, you loser. I can't believe you idiot. Why did you do that? You always do that, things like that. Right.
Totally. You always do that. Is like such a common one, isn't it? That people say to themselves, and you can't always be happy, but you can be soothing. And so you have to find the words that work. And so if you're feeling self-doubt or you're feeling not confident, it's not like you're going to start saying, I'm so confident right away. But you might start saying things to yourself just gently, like, okay, I remember what Dana said on that show. And here I am. I caught that thought, and I don't want my reticular activating system to match this. And so I do want to find a way to soothe myself, and I want to think in my head, and I like thinking in my head, and I want to find words that work. And so I'm going to start to just say to myself, like, okay, if I was my best friend, I would say, look at, other people have figured this out, and I don't feel all that soothed by that. So I'm going to try a different sentence, and I'm going to try a sentence of saying, like, just take a deep breath and just realize that you're in a different place now because you do understand the brain better now. So that's a good plus. Okay, now that feels better. So then you just start to reach for those sentences. Which sentences feel good? That's true. I do know the brain now. I do know how to think now. I am busting myself. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. That's an improvement. I'm moving, I'm getting better at busting myself. I'm getting better at being aware. I'm getting better at being a positive thinker. And I have learned a lot. And frankly, compared to where I was when I started, I'm learning a lot. I'm getting better. I've learned a lot already. So of course I love to learn, and I'm going to continue to learn. And this is really important to me, what I'm doing. And I love that it's important to me, and I'm actually quite passionate about it. And when I weigh that against my little bit of tiny self-doubt, that feels kind of foolish now almost. So I'd rather just focus on my passion, because that makes more sense, because this is important what I'm doing. Like, I want to be successful with this, and that desire alone is going to carry me most of the way there. Now you start to get some momentum. And then the good old brain kicks in. Reticular activating system, all those creative pathways open up. This is how you do it.
I love what you said there about soothing, and you don't have to be happy all the time, but you can be soothing. That is brilliant, because when I think of sometimes like these affirmations, I am confident, I am this, I am that. And your subconscious mind is going, I call BS on that one, and then you just like nullified it, right? Or there's the la 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 la, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm not going to listen to those negative thoughts. It's like you can't outrun them.
Yeah.
But what I love there is it's like you're actually facing them. You're confronting. Most people don't like the word confront, because they see it as a negative, but it's really about standing in front of and facing something. And so to face that thought, and rather than try to negate it or judge it, like in terms of even judging ourselves with that, what I hear you saying is you're just like, look at it and then start transforming it, reframing it in the moment. And that's much more powerful. And actually there's much more hits on the brain, if you will, when you're doing that, rather than just saying this positive affirmation over and over again. Because how many times have we heard people say that positive affirmations, they don't work for me? Well, maybe because they're just too much of a jump from where they are to where they want to be.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And I love all of the different verbiage that you're using here about facing things, and, confronting is actually just, getting in front and not negating things. Like, I love everything you just said. And you're right. We think that the only way to be positive is to be just peel me off the ceiling happy, or to be saying all this 100% perfect language. And the reality is, if we think about that, the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And we've got a part of our brain that's like a little matchmaker, the RAS, right? And we are continually, we like to say, matching the outside picture and the inside picture. So whatever you're thinking about, the brain just seems to make it happen, right? That's as much as we know right now. So if that's the case that it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, then rather than saying things like, I easily built $1 million business in under 2 years, what would you really be saying if your movement was rocking right now? What would you really be saying if you were adding a bunch of people to your pond or your sandbox or your email list or whatever it is? What would you really be saying? Because if you were saying those things now, and you were thinking those things now, then your reticular activating system would start to match that up in the outside world. So mantras, we do promote affirmations. We call them mantras, and they're great. When you feel good, say affirmations or say mantras. Because when you feel good, mantras work. When you're already buzzing and feeling good, you can say, yeah, I'm abundant, and it feels great, right? But when you're getting there and you're trying to get start the engine, say things that, try to think of how would you be talking if you were already successful. And most of us would be saying things like, things are going really well. I like that it's really cool. I love it. I'm having little successes. I'm seeing things happen. I'm feeling the momentum. I'm feeling like things are starting to happen. It seems like people are joining my list every day, or it seems like people are joining our world every day. And so one of the most practical exercises I can give to anybody who's building a business or doing anything, whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're looking for a relationship or whatever it is every day talk about your successes. And think about your successes and milk them, and just talk about them over and over in your head. Think about all the stuff that's going right and only focus on that. Only focus on what's going right, no matter how little. So it can be like, oh, I had such a good day. I heard this great podcast today. It was Leaders of Transformation. It was so good. And I had another success because I talked to a client and she was so nice and complimentary. And I had another success because I got my business card in the mail and it finally is done. I mean, every little thing, no matter how little, make it a big deal. And then your brain makes it so.
Well, I love the fact that you're using language that is like real language. You know, when you more and more now it's very conversational marketing, you know, messages and so forth. But it used to be that, you know, you had this like ta-da thing, right? That they were trying to come up with the headline and the thing, which still happening, of course. I'm not saying that you don't have a headline and all that, but it's more real language that is grabbing people's attention. And what you're talking about is not having this headliner, if you will. You're talking about real language standing in the future and saying, what would I be saying in that moment? And then saying that now. So it's like you're planning the pathway to where you're actually going to be, because when you're there, let's say you did get there, you're not going to be saying like what you said. You're not going to be saying this, I am abundant, you know, or whatever the case is. Like you're going to be like, yeah, man, I'm a rock star or whatever. But it's more of it's a different, or like you said, wow, it's such a pleasure. People are, you know, coming into my community. It's much more real language, conversational language that our brain will register much more effectively. That is great. Because there's a lot of people talk about mindset, but what we're doing is we're diving into the finer distinctions. You're an expert in this. So those finer distinctions from just the positive psychology of, you know, talk good thoughts, think good thoughts, you know, affirmations and all that, but you're diving into the framework, the inner workings of what makes it effective. So I love that.
Well, yeah, and I can tell you from experience, like I have really, really vivid memories of the first time I did the $1 million business, of the exact things I was thinking. And these may or may not be the exact things that other successful people think, or they may not be the exact things you should think if you are doing it yourself. But when you hear them, they are so kind of counterintuitive from what we hear about mantras. I mean, I was saying things like, I'll figure it out. And I figured out other things. I can figure this out. And gosh, it's going so great. And I had such a good day today. And oh my gosh, it's so exciting. This is so fun. And you know, it's not like, who says like, say this mantra, this is so fun. You wouldn't say that. But those are the things you're really thinking when you're having a good day. And so start to be aware of your own thoughts. When you're having a good day and you're having a good moment, just like when you're having a bad moment, bust yourself and catch yourself in those good moments and say, what am I thinking now? What am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking like, that was fun. And I like that. And I'm good at this. And God, that went better than I thought it would. And things are going so well. And it's so fun. I just signed my first client. I just signed another client. Oh my gosh, I got my new prices and they worked and that felt so good. You know, I mean, what are you really thinking? And mimic that. Because when you mimic it, your brain thinks it's so. It thinks it's so. And this is not like just, oh, maybe this is proven. You know, they have taken even athletes and they hook them up to those, you know, EEG machines where their muscles fire, and they think about doing their routine, and all of those muscles fire just like they're doing their routine. Their body doesn't even know that they're only thinking it. They've got study after study. A really good one was done in the University of Chicago. You can look it up. It's the basketball study. And basically, when you think about shooting the basket, you get the same result as when you do it. And so we're in an exciting age now. Like, this is a really exciting age. We are learning more about the brain than ever before. We're able to understand our reality more than ever before. And the people who are interested in this, like yourself, we're on the cutting edge of this. This is really an exciting time to be in.
So what do you notice in terms of new discoveries in the brain? Let's say like from 50 years ago or 70 years ago, when Norman Vincent Peale wrote his book, you know, Power of Positive Thinking. And then today, what we know about the brain, sort of like, how has that evolved?
I think the biggest thing that we know now, the biggest shift we've had now that we can start to study the brain, and of course, I mean, if we go down this rabbit hole, we'll be on quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all that. But the biggest shift in our lifetime is the idea that your brain can change. It is not stagnant. You can change your thinking. And so this is like kind of a message of hope I especially want to bring to people who were raised in negative environments or have been negative their whole lives. If you implement this, what we're talking about here, the 4 steps I just talked about, and really try to start thinking differently, you have the biggest, fastest results. And the reason why is I can take someone who's relatively positive, like yourself. Maybe, you know, somebody out there says, well, I'm pretty much an optimist. I can take a person who's at a level 7 and bring them to a 10. But if you've been banging around at a level 3 your whole life and you implement just a little bit of this, boom, your brain's going to blow your mind because you're going to be amazed at how fast things can change. Your brain can change. It's possible to think different thoughts and create different outcomes. And so it really becomes like a game and it becomes fun. And this is the biggest thing I think that we've become aware of.
Okay, so I'm going to take some of because you're talking about people that might be operating at a level 3 and who are going to have a negative mindset and how they might be changing it. And, you know, sometimes on Facebook, like I'll post something and say, you have the power to choose. And people will say, no, I don't. You don't understand. Like, wow. Okay. So there's triggered something there. So let's talk about the word can't. People will say, I can't do that. Or another one is easy for you to say. Oh, I'm sure that's so easy for you to say. You're kind of positive and everything went well for you, but you don't understand my situation. Right. How do you deal with that?
Well, here's the thing. People have to have a desire to change. They have to have a desire to think differently. And so my hope is by just spreading my one piece of information about the reticular activating system being a matchmaker that lives in your head, that you realize, you start to make the association that what I think matters. So some of those people who post those things, they don't want to change and they have no desire to change, and they won't, and that's fine. They can live their life however they want to. But those who do want to change, one of the, I can give some technique that I think works for anybody who's got self-doubt or who has wondering if this can work for them. And it's my favorite word, which is going to surprise you. It's the word but. Because the word but is very powerful in that it negates everything that comes before it. And so sometimes people have a limiting thought and they've had it for a long time and they see it as the reason they're not successful and they can't change it. So for example, we had somebody I was working with who was really shy and he was needing to network to get a project done. And he's like, I'm not going to walk around going, I'm an extrovert. And he couldn't really even find soothing words to soothe him. So he started using the word but, and he would say, I'm shy, but I'm connecting with the right people. The brain only hears the second half of that. I'm shy, but people like my style. I'm shy, but my projects are getting done. I'm shy, but things are going well for me. So these things that we think are so set in stone in our lives, which really aren't, but we sometimes think they are. I'm a procrastinator. I'm not techie. I'm too busy. You know, all of these things that we think are unchangeable, you can continue to think them. And you can continue to say them, but every time you say them, follow them up with the word but, and your brain doesn't hear it. So if you can think of one offhand that you think like these people would say, that won't work for me. Positive thinking has never worked for me, but I'm open to giving it a go. Positive thinking has never worked for me, but I do like the idea of being aware, but I'm getting better at this, but it does kind of feel good to think better thoughts. But I will give her that it does feel good when I'm happy, you know, right? So whatever it is, you know, the one that I have to bust myself a lot on that I get a lot is the I'm so busy one. People are like, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have time to work my business. So the first thing I want to say is when you take out this equation that action is what builds your business, First of all, you don't even need time anymore now, right? Like all you really need, you can be cleaning your kitchen and building your business. If you're thinking positive thoughts and dreaming and making that list of everything that went right today, that time I'm cleaning my kitchen is all success time in my world, right? And so that's the first thing. But the second thing is, it's not being busy that's the problem. It's how you talk about being busy. We have a saying where we say the problem is not the problem is that you keep thinking and talking about the problem. So it's not that you're busy, it's that the way you talk about it. You know, you can say different words about it. You know, I'm busy, but I do love my full life. I wouldn't change a thing. I'd sign up for something. If I had 1 free minute, I'd probably take on something else because I love being of service and I love the things I do. And I'm busy, but I'm fulfilled. And I'm busy, but I have so many passions. But I'm busy because I'm a passionate person. All these things I do, they're all desires that flow through me. And I love that about myself. And I'm busy, but I'm finding more time for myself. I'm busy, but I'm getting better choices. I'm making better choices. And I'm doing more things that I love. And I'm saying yes to the right things. And I'm getting to be a better decider. I mean, there's so many ways we can talk about things, you know. And okay, I got one last thing to say, and I promise you, I'm on a rant now, is that we live in a world where people care about so many things. You know, they care about the car they drive or the house they live in or the clothes they wear or the food they eat, all of these things. And I just want people to care about the thoughts they think. That's really it.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. You know, and you said, like, when you talked about being busy, that's a common one. People constantly are saying, I'm busy, I'm too busy to be successful, right? Is what they're actually saying, or I'm too busy to do all this. And so I love that. And wow, this is so good. So I know that sometimes I think about, like, what are people saying? As they're listening to this, what are some of the thoughts that might be coming out? And I think that one of them, and even for myself, like, that's my natural inclination, is to be a doer. Say, okay, so I'm doing all this positive mindset stuff, Dana. Okay, when do we get to work? How do we do that? And how do I find the people? Like, so how do I create that space? So do you work with clients on that piece as well? So, like, marrying the two together?
Being taking intentional action.
Yes.
You know, once you've got your mindset right, then taking action.
Yes.
Here's what I like to tell people.
Because it does take
yeah,
certain things.
Yes,
You need to
totally.
generate a certain amount of transactions to build a $1 million business. Yeah.
I totally get that. And so I've got a few things that I say on this. And so the first one is, that's what makes you a good interviewer, is that you're thinking about what are they going to be thinking. So here's the first thing I like to say is, when you're thinking positive thoughts like that, the time to take action is when you get that thought that goes like, oh, I just got the best idea. Now you know that is the result of your brain being primed positively. And you get that thing, if it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. Act, okay?
Yeah, don't talk yourself out of it in that moment.
Do it. Exactly. Do it. The next thing is, if you're going to sit down and you say, well, look, I already have a list of things that I said I'm going to do. I said I'm going to do a webinar. I need to make a PowerPoint for it. Or I said I'm going to give a speech, or I'm going to do a presentation. I have to do that. So if you've got that list of things that you're doing as just part of your business, like you're following the formula that everybody says out there for building a following, if that's the case, then before you do it, get yourself fired up. So whatever that means to you, say some mantras, listen to some music, dance, move your body, say something positive, jump up and down, say one word that's really awesome, like fun, 100 times. Then sit down and work, because that alone is going to decrease your work time drastically. And because you're going to be in the flow, you're going to be feeling good, things are going to be happening, it's going to go better. And then, take breaks so you can do that often, because you'll notice your energy waning. The next thing is, and I have a quiz for this, by the way, if anybody's interested. It's called yourmarketingsuperpower.com. And what I like to tell people who are building a business is, you only need one marketing thing, one marketing method. And there's something that you already do well. Like, some people are writers. They love to write. Like, they're the journalers and they get clarity from writing. This is not me. Okay, some people love to speak from stage. They love to have, the people listening to what they're saying. They're entertaining, they're funny or whatever. That's also not me, right? So some of you have things. Some of you connect by shining the light on others. You're good interviewers. You shine the light on others. You're champions for other people's causes. Some of you are good teachers. Everybody has a superpower that they already have. And if they would do only that, they would build their business so much faster. So much of the noise that we're getting from the culture now is you have to be everywhere and you have to do everything and you need to be on and I'm the opposite. I am not Miss get out of your comfort zone and do a bunch of stuff that you hate doing and force yourself to do it until you feel better. I am Miss get into your comfort zone, figure out what you love and nail it. Do that and do only that, and then train your brain to tell yourself that that's why you're successful. So say, like, I have a podcast. I love my podcast. I do great with my podcast, and it's killing it on iTunes. I'm doing fantastic. And you go to my YouTube channel, and I got 28 views on my videos. Nobody's watching my videos. And so I had to bust myself and go, like, why do I keep trying to do this be everywhere thing? Why am I always... the peanut gallery gets you and you go, I really should be on YouTube. And I thought, what, screw that. I'm not going to be on YouTube. I'm going to do the thing I do it well and go all in with that. And so that's the easiest way, is train your brain, feel good before you work, and then do the things that you love to build your business.
So good. I think of the word freedom. You just gave people the freedom, right? That freedom to be themselves, to really be themselves. And, when you think of what people really want, I did a little survey at one point and said, what do people really want in life? And, peace, harmony, success, all these things came up, but freedom is a big one. People want freedom. They feel trapped. They feel confined in this little box. And even with all of the marketing strategies that are out there, it might be perceived as a big box, but they're still confined into what should be happening, what they should be doing. And you just freed them up. And of course, when you have freedom, you're more happy, right? And having more fun doing it. So that's brilliant. What's your superpower?
My superpower is what we're calling on the test, the orator. So the orator is doing what I'm doing with you right now, just speaking. I'm audio. This is how I learn. I learn audio. I love to just say, if I have to read a long email, or if you can just tell me, I would say, just tell me. I don't want to read the long email. So that's my superpower. Yeah, and it's fun because the other thing that's fun about this particular way to build a business is that when you start to realize that success really comes through your joy. Success comes from showing up as your joyful self and being your joyful self, and your brain works better when you're happy and you get better results. Now you start to look at everything differently. You start to look at, like, is building that funnel going to bring me joy? I'm not sure that it is. I think I would rather find an easier, faster, funner way to the money. And so you don't give up the money because you just got a story that the funnel is what gives you the money, but it's not the funnel that gives you the money. There's an easier, funner, faster way to the money than that for you, because that doesn't sound fun. Now, for some people, building the funnel is their joy, which is great, but that's the thing. It makes it really nice because suddenly now you realize you can have the money come in any way, shape, or form you want to. You just have to tell your brain it's so.
Amazing. I love this. Dana, thank you so much. I would love for that assessment. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes.
Thanks.
The link to that. We'll also make sure there's a link to your website, danawilde.com. And
I have a surprise for you too.
Oh, I like
surprises. You want to hear it? Yes. I'm going to give anybody who's listening my entire Train Your Brain audiobook for free. So you can go to danawilde.com/Nicole Jansen and you will see it there. And you'll be able to I'm audio, so I like audiobooks because I can do other stuff and listen, So I would love for your listeners to have that.
Amazing. Thank you so very much, Dana. You're just such a bright light. And I love, like, for those that are watching the video, we do put it on YouTube and we don't get a heck of a lot of views either, like you. It's really more about the iTunes and the different platforms, audio platforms. But for those of you that are watching, she's got these beautiful sayings behind you. So you also surround yourself with words and language that is empowering language, and you're demonstrating it right now. So it's just fantastic. Transformation happens it starts with the awareness, the decision, and then the actions that follow that. And so Dana has given us some brilliant steps to be able to do that, those 4 steps. And so I encourage you to take action. When I say take action on them, is like do something with them, right? Embrace them, test them out, break them, try them out and break them, fix it, break it, all that, right? Do that for yourself because it's worth it. You're worth it, and it's worth it, and you can do it. And so we'd love to hear your stories. You can go on leadersoftransformation.com. You can let us know how this impacted you. If you have questions, of course, we're here as well. And again, we'll make sure that all the show notes are going to be there so that you can connect with Dana and get all her amazing information. And we just so appreciate you being here. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.